welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can use promo code DNVR to make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code DNVR and only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I am Patrick Lyons.
I am Suzie Hunter, and we are joined by a very special guest, Katie Woo, who covers the St. Louis Cardinals for The Athletic. Katie, how you doing?
Suzie, Patrick, how are you guys? I'm doing well, thanks.
Thanks for joining us from afar. We are in 3 different time zones right now, which is quite a treat.
We're all over the place, international.
International. We're Mr. Worldwide. We actually have Pitbull coming on later on, so.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But your first billing.
Yeah. Love that. So let's get into it. St. Louis Cardinals coming to town here this week, highlighted or headlined by a certain someone. But before we dabble into any of that, Cardinals are red hot right now. I think they've won 9 of their last 10, just finished up a 3-game sweep against the New York Yankees. Everything really seems to be going the Cards' way right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a completely different Cardinals team since the trade deadline. They've won season high 7 straight games in a row. They're a season high 12 games over 500, and they have, as of Monday, a comfy 2-game lead over the Brewers in the NL Central. First time they've been sitting alone in first place for more than 2 days since mid-June. Again, completely different Cardinals team. That will happen, of course. Winning does lead to better overall vibes when you sweep the Cubs and the Yankees back-to-back. But really, I think the Cardinals have been sparked by 2 things. They've been sparked, one, by the starting pitching acquisitions that they picked up at the trade deadline in Jordan Montgomery and Jose Quintana. And also, the same day as the trade deadline is when Yadier Molina came back from missing nearly 6 weeks on the injured list with right knee inflammation. And if you ask anyone in that clubhouse, the first thing they'll say is, Yadi's presence has completely changed everything. They just feel like a more complete team, and they certainly are playing more like a complete team.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Yadi and Pujols, but they're also going to be honored at Coors Field, and I know that the Cardinals were maybe disappointed that they weren't being honored as the season went along towards the beginning of the season. Are you guys seeing more of teams being like, okay, I took the hint, let's do something?
I have to give the Rockies some props here because I thought they did such a cool thing in tweeting out when the ceremony was going to be, getting fans' attention, saying, hey, you have a really unique opportunity to, say thank you or say goodbye to these future Hall of Famers. Here's plenty of days notice in advance. I think the second half has been much better in that regard, and teams recognizing Yadi and Albert. Washington, D.C. just had a really nice tribute to both of them, gave them stadium chairs, and Yadi was on a rehab assignment, so Adam Wainwright accepted it on his behalf, which was cool. I'm holding out a little bit more hope that the division foes in the Central will wait till the last series. That makes more sense to me, but I certainly do think that teams that earlier in the season dropped the ball a little bit in recognizing Albert and Yadi and what they've done. I mean, I don't think either of them really care too much about the grandeur of things. They're not those kinds of players, but it would have been nice to have some recognition, I think, from baseball in the first half of the season. I'm glad to see it's picking up now.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much of that did have to do just with the lockout in general and teams kind of taking a couple months to really get their feet underneath them. But I still would have imagined 2 first ballot Hall of Famers like Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols, that's got to be on your calendar at the end of last year, essentially saying when these guys are coming through, we've got to be ready for it. Are people in St. Louis talking about going to Cooperstown in 2028? Like that would be the year that they would go in the summer of 28. Are people like thinking that far down the line a little bit?
People in St. Louis don't believe that they're retiring. So, and I get it. It's a little bit of, well, they've never retired, right? They every year they just keep coming back. But I also think it's a little bit of like living in a false reality. They don't want to accept the fact that this is Yadi's last year. I mean, it was such a riveting moment in St. Louis when Pujols came back, and fans have been tremendous in every reception. It's a standing ovation for every at bat. It's a really cool environment. But I don't think St. Louis fans have fully grasped the fact that they are actually indeed retiring. This is the last year. There is no more one more year. That always seems to happen, I think. And I understand it, living in that little, twisted reality. So eventually, I'm sure they will flock to Cooperstown. But for now, they're convinced that he's going to keep playing.
I'm happy that they're in the moment. They're living in the
Exactly.
moment. Even if it's not totally the correct moment, they're still living in the now.
They're passionate. Yeah. That's what you want.
Exactly.
Matt Carpenter came to town over the weekend with the Yankees and got a nice ovation from the crowd. We'll talk about Rockies fans and their experience with their guy Nolan Arenado, but how nice was it for St. Louis to kind of give some thanks to a guy like Matt Carpenter, who had some really great seasons, had, a few more maybe down seasons, but still was a Cardinals guy through and through.
What really spoke to me about Matt Carpenter's reunion in St. Louis was how overwhelmed with gratitude he was. I mean, this was a guy that went out of his way to make everybody happy, whether it was the stadium workers, clubhouse staff, even the media taking time to talking to us, because it was that important to him to make sure that he was properly seen and spending time with everyone that he felt had influenced him in St. Louis. He got emotional plenty of times. He teared up during his press conference. He told me the next day that he spent pregame just crying his eyes out because he didn't want to do it on the field. He wanted to get it all out before the game. Did get a little misty-eyed at the ovation, but he also said, it didn't surprise me at all because St. Louis fans are so loyal. He'd been on the opposite end of the receptions for so many times, having an on-field seat to watching Yadier Molina take a lap around, go up to the pitcher's mound, stand up, face the crowd. Every single day, all 3 games, Carpenter got a standing ovation. It wasn't surprising at all. He certainly seems to be thriving in New York. He's happy. But you can also tell just the overwhelming appreciation and gratitude he has for St. Louis. He told me, St. Louis will always be home. It'll always be family. It'll always be a special place. And I think that was really evident in how he was celebrated over the weekend here.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love when men will talk about how they were crying. I love that.
It was a refreshing conversation, but it was also a genuine and authentic one. I mean, he really is just so thankful for the Cardinals for the opportunity and for the Yankees for giving him a new lease on his career, and he's thriving there.
He really is.
That's that Midwest kind of, good-natured, good soul kind of folks, like welcoming those guys back no matter how, it might have ended and whatnot. And so that's been a wonderful thing. I think that passion or that desire and love for the Cardinals is, not seen all the time with all the transactions that the Cardinals do. I'm curious what the vibe is in St. Louis in regards to what they did at the trade deadline. Obviously they bolstered the rotation, got two really good starters that probably you might even end up seeing in September, or rather in October, that might fit in with those plans. But are Cardinals fans happy with the moves that they made? Austin Allen probably isn't the most exciting name that they got, but hey, you need a little extra catching depth. They were able to at least address that somewhat.
Sure. I understand Cardinals fans' disappointment as the Soto sweepstakes came to an end. Seemed pretty clear the Cardinals were a front runner for such a long time for Juan Soto. Ended up finishing, if we're going to dictate it in race terms, third place in the sweepstakes. But Juan Soto, for as electric and a generational talent as he is, and obviously if you have a chance to trade for a generational superstar, you explore all options. He didn't fit their Cardinals' most dire need, which was starting pitching. I mean, they were for the last couple of weeks of July, essentially taking the field with a 3.5-man rotation with Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis, Dakota Hudson, and Andre Palante, who's been a standout rookie for the squad, but is approaching his career innings high, and the Cardinals kind of wanted to deter him from that. So it was obvious they needed starting pitching. Steven Matz, they figured, was going to come back. He unfortunately tore his MCL in his first start off the injured list. He won't need surgery, and there is optimism he could return at the end of September. But Jack Flaherty, who's also dealt with a series of injuries this season, has made just 3 starts, none of them particularly good. He's set to come off the 60-day IL with right shoulder strain again on August 26th, and the Cardinals are pretty confident around that week is when he could return to the team. So obviously, you can't rely on 2 guys coming back from injury with question marks to carry a rotation, and the Cardinals certainly needed August to kind of fill that. So they went out, and I thought John Mozeliak did a great job in identifying talent that did not deplete the Cardinals farm system. You saw the market prices for starting pitchers this trade deadline. It was incredibly high. Yet Mo got Jose Quintana from the Pirates, Chris Stratton in that same deal, a nice bulk inning reliever, and Jordan Montgomery. And I think this is what Ollie Marmol said, and I completely agree. It's not about getting pieces at the trade deadline for your club. It's about getting the right pieces. And I think both Quintana and Montgomery fit this Cardinals team perfectly. They are low walk guys. They get the ball on the ground a lot. You want the ground balls when you have the defense behind you. Rockies fans are well rehearsed in what Nolan Arenado can do at third base. So I really do think, and both of them have fit in seamlessly to the club so far. I think those acquisitions have been very helpful. And I know they're not the splashiest of names, but maybe because they weren't linked to all these rumors on the trade deadline market, I think maybe fans weren't as familiar with what their work and what they can do, but you're certainly seeing it firsthand that the traits that these pitchers have really complement what the Cardinals do and how they operate.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Now, I know we know the strengths of the Cardinals heading into this Rockies series. Are there any potential weaknesses that the Rockies you think could take advantage of when it comes to this red hot Cardinals team?
A couple weeks ago, I could have made a list. But right now, this is just a team that seems to be clicking on all cylinders. They're so confident. I think having Paul DeYoung back, I mean, this is the guy that was their former all-star shortstop, option to the minors and option to AAA, went to the minors in May because he wasn't performing. He was hitting 130, and Cardinals said that is just not feasible. Did everything right. To Paul's credit, he went down to the minors. He worked his butt off for 2 months, never once checked in on the team and said, hey, like, when does my call back up? I'm ready to go. Just kept his head down, reset his mind, refocused on his swing, comes back, hits for power. I mean, this is a guy that has 10 RBI in his first 8 games back, launched a key 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Sunday's win over the Yankees. He's just completely locked in. I think that really lengthens the Cardinals lineup. They have been lacking from leadoff production a little bit. Ollie Marmol has been switching with Dylan Carlson, Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan as a utility guy, kind of seen some production there because when you have guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and Paul DeYoung in that heart of the lineup, you want someone on base so they can do damage. Cardinals have been struggling a little bit in that regard, but for the most part, this is a team that's been playing their best ball all season right about now.
Soto obviously would have been great in that lineup. He's great in any lineup, obviously. But as you touched on, up the middle with center field, Carlson would have been a guy that Cardinals very much, would have had to have given the Nationals for that. And so you'd have now had a big hole in center field. I doubt that was any kind of deterrent for the Cardinals. They would have had to have made maybe a slightly different trade. Maybe they don't, deal Bader, who I know is on the IL right now with his own plantar fasciitis issues right now. Chris Bryant has that going on for the for the Rockies, but Cardinals expected Bader to come back. Yankees are obviously counting on that now. Were there any just kind of, running out of runway and running out of time as far as making any of those trades? Or was there a little hesitancy with trading some of their top prospects like Jordan Walker being number one, or even other players like a Mason Wynn?
There was 2 names that the Cardinals were not trading, one being Dylan Carlson. They have long expected him to be their primary outfielder of the future. He's under team control through 2026. He's a homegrown talent, former top prospect. And the belief within the organization is that he hasn't even touched his ceiling yet. So what Mo did, their president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, took Dylan Carlson. Cardinals were in DC, of course, the weekend before the trade deadline. He took Dylan Carlson aside and said, hey, we're not trading you. Whatever rumors you hear, we believe in you. You're not going to be traded. You're staying here. Mo also did the same with Nolan Gorman, the former top prospect who is now starting second baseman and DHs at times. Cardinals have a very fluid lineup, as I'm sure you guys will see over the next 3 days. But he said they had the same conversation. He said, your name is going to be in a lot of rumors. We're not trading you. I can't fathom a deal that the Cardinals make with the Nationals for Juan Soto if Dylan Carlson or Nolan Gorman isn't included in that. That wouldn't completely decimate their farm system. And that is so unlike how the Cardinals front office operates. They are meticulous, they're calculated. I don't want to say they're cheap because they're not, but they are conservative. And they aren't going to do something like blow up their future for one player because that's just not how the Cardinals operate. They are consistently good for a reason. And when you look at how their farm system shapes up, it's probably one of the deepest in baseball right now. And they've done that besides not having to draft in the top 15 in over 2 decades. So you can see why they were hesitant to move or to complete that trade with Soto because they didn't want to part with Carlson for obvious reasons, who's going to play center field. They didn't want to part with Gorman, and they weren't depleting their farm system.
Frugal. That might be the word. They're a little frugal when it comes to certain moves like that. And it's okay to be frugal. That's why we're trying to help you out in that capacity. It's only 50 cents for your first month on the DNVR.com.
It's an ad read.
Here we go. Segue time. Broncos, Nuggets, Avs, Rockies, golf, Rapids, you name it. We got it all covered there for you. You get a member-sized beer down at the bar once we get open again. We also have our first tailgate coming up this week. So everything's going on. You get some great price breaks when you're a member to the DNVR.com. You can also get a price break when you use code DNVR on FOCO.com, FOCO.com. You can get all that Stanley Cup celebration gear or those bobbleheads. The Avs, it's still kind of their time of the year after that wonderful parade and lifting Lord Stanley's Cup. Sorry, Katie, for bringing that up here as you're in St. Louis.
I'll forgive.
Look, this is just an ad read. I had to do it. It's just a coincidence that you
I
have it
understand.
here. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're trying to be professional here, and no one's more professional than Foco.com. Again, code DNVR for 10% off all non-presale items. And if you want to make sure that you're watching the Rockies this week with Nolan Arenado coming back, or you want to make sure you get the Nuggets and Avs with Altitude Sports or AT&T Sports, where you also get the Rapids in that package, you got to go with Evoca TV, evoca.tv/DNVR, 0 hidden fees or contracts. It's $25 per month plus the cost of the receiver. Your price gets locked in for 2 years. Never have to worry again about missing the Nugs or the Avs. And actually, I take that back. Use code Colorado10, new code Colorado10, and you're actually going to get $10 off your first 3 months on top of that. So now only $15 per month to start to get all those teams and so much more. Katie, who would you say right now would be the MVP of the Cardinals? And who do you think it may end up being when the season is all said and done?
Well, it's really difficult to answer that question because I look at the Cardinals lineup and I think without a doubt they have 2 front runners for the National League MVP, hitting third and hitting fourth. That's Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. I was actually joking on the radio this morning that for as electric and tremendous as Paul Goldschmidt has been, I think we're kind of discrediting Nolan Arenado because we get so caught up in Paul's ridiculous numbers. Well, Nolan's doing the same thing. He's going to come into this Denver series hitting over 300. He's going to have an OPS in the second half already over 1,100. He's at 22 home runs. He's on pace for another 30 home run, 100 RBI season. And he's probably going to say he hasn't been good enough. So I don't know, really. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt's the obvious answer just because he's been so successful, so steady. His May was historic, and he hasn't really tapered off that tremendously since. But Nolan Arenado, the longer we get into the season, the better he gets. And it's no coincidence these two are such good friends and have such a strong bond together. When you look at the way that they're playing, I mean, it all checks out. But I think if you're going to have to pick, I'm not sure at this point who I would vote for a National League MVP because they're so identical.
What a problem to have.
Yes. So sorry, Rockies fans. It'll come there. Don't worry, it'll come.
It did. It came, actually. Really the proper tense there. Going back. Now, the thing about Nolan that I'm definitely looking forward to talking with some of the guys in the clubhouse here this week is some of the young players that have kind of, he's taken under his wing. I think Lars Nootbaar, as I've heard, has been, one of those guys that, has a good friendship with Nolan and a couple other guys in and around the locker room. But what has he meant to the Cardinals, behind the scenes? He doesn't necessarily have to be a leader. As you said, Yadier Molina's presence is huge. Pujols, again, he's, leading maybe more behind the scenes than in front since his best days are behind him. But what's Nolan Arenado, meant to this clubhouse besides just the on-field product that he's bringing each and every day?
I think Nolan brings in a really competitive, driven level that blends perfectly in St. Louis. I mean, he came to St. Louis for a reason. He wanted to win. I'm sure Rockies fans are like punching the air right now. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to rub it in too much. I really am. But his competitive drive and his fiery spirit and his will to win, I think, really sets a precedence in that locker room. He's always joking around. He's funny. He's approachable. It's funny you bring up Lars Nootbaar. Nootbaar actually lived with him in the offseason this year. They went back to LA together and hit together over the All-Star break. And their Cardinals manager, Ollie Marmol, has said multiple times, Lars Nootbaar is the only guy that can get on Nolan and get away with it. I mean, Lars is always ripping on Nolan and he thinks it's hilarious. He just loves that guy. But I think for the Cardinals, you're looking at someone who is so committed to winning and sets that tone on field. Sometimes, there's different types of leaders, right? Paul Goldschmidt is that quiet, not very spoken. He's going to pull you aside if you need something leader. Nolan's multiple times gotten a rookie's attention on the field and yelled at them, and not in an aggressive way, but just like, hey, you need to focus, you need to be better, get on it. And they respond really well. So when you have that kind of leadership between Nolan and Paul, and then you also have the veteran leadership in Adam Wainwright, Albert Pujols, and Yadier Molina, I mean, it sets the tone for all of these young guys. And I don't think it benefits anyone more than the Brendan Donovans, the Nolan Gormans, the Lars Nootbaars, than to have a continuous circle of veterans with different leadership styles to go to.
The way I picture it is that Nolan has kind of adopted Lars. That's how I see it in my
that's
head.
how I see it all the time. I'm like, oh, there's your kid.
My son.
Absolutely. It's so funny seeing them celebrate. Thinking about the Lars Nootbaar hit a walk-off single against the Cubs on Thursday in game 1 of a doubleheader, which, by the way, split doubleheaders in August. No more. They're banned. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But he drove in Arenado from second, and the two celebrating on the mound, like they run for each other. And I'm not sure what happened there, but Lars went for the high five, and it looked like Nolan was going for the hug, and they just completely missed. It was just the most sad celebration ever. And we asked Lars, he's like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was going for a high five. It was really funny. But that's just
I don't know
kind
what
of
to do with my hands.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. You can see the picture, and like he's just like so confused. But that's a kind of I thought a good summation of their bond.
That's a gift.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that needs to be circulated a little bit. That kind of awkwardness. That's really funny to see that. We'll definitely have to be searching that out. Nolan, he's got some opt-out clauses, coming up here. Is there any worry about an opt-out? I mean, I can imagine that fans in St. Louis or even the organization might not be worried necessarily about the opt-out because I think he wants to stay in St. Louis. I think he's enjoying his time. So it's more of a, hey, I'm opting out to force your hand to really get a bigger deal, get one that takes me a little bit deeper into my career. Has that been somewhat of a discussion or not so much right now because, hey, they're in the middle of something right now to win a championship in 2022?
No, not so much. I don't think it's really been on the front of Nolan's mind, which sounds a little ridiculous. You obviously want some stability and knowing where your future is, but I think he's been so committed to going on the field, and I really don't think that he is going to opt out, which is why he probably hasn't been thinking about it as much. There's obviously, he could opt out and opt back in, as you allude to, but I really think, this is where he wants to be. I mean, he has a house here. His wife is here. They love St. Louis. He loves the clubhouse. He loves playing for the fans. I think it would take something pretty egregious for him to exercise that opt-out clause. I mean, anything can happen, but I don't see him leaving St. Louis, especially if they keep this up. I mean, the one thing Nolan wants more than anything, well, it's to win a World Series, but how he gets there, he says he wants to win the division. He said this a few weeks ago. He said, I'd never won the division. I would like to be part of that sometime in my career. And Cardinals are in a good spot to do that. Obviously, the World Series is the common goal, but I think he feels like his best chance to be successful. I mean, he's had all the personal success, but the team success is what he's really chasing.
I'm not going to lie. Nolan saying, all I want to do is win a division. I would love to try that. It just felt very personal.
It came across pretty personal. And I was like, you're right. You actually have not done that. That is true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's such a like loaded statement, not in any kind of backhanded way, because it's factual. Like that's the thing that I think some people forget. Here in Colorado, I think, it can be a raw nerve at times, but at the end of the day, you say this is one of the greatest players in franchise history, if not the greatest player in franchise history. And despite, how high he may have finished in MVP voting and maybe he deserved a little bit more attention, is just a phenomenal player. And yet, even though he was part of two clubs that went to the postseason in back-to-back years for the first time in franchise history, there was a lot of unfinished business there for him and his career. And that's partially one of the reasons why, he really felt the need to go elsewhere. And to your point, Katie, I almost would imagine, him talking with the Cardinals front office and saying, I could very well opt out and you could very well pay me more money, but I don't necessarily know if that's going to translate to more wins than losses. So what can you do to assure me that this money that I'm going to kind of leave on the table for you guys, how do I know it's going to go out there? And I think there's probably been a lot more trust here between Nolan and his front office to feel confident that they are going to follow through on that promise and that he is going to win that championship that he really seeks out, because that's the bigger goal, more so than being the highest paid third baseman or whatever it might be in an annual salary.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what put a little bit of added pressure on John Mozeliak at the deadline, is he had to make moves that would ensure to his clubhouse and to Nolan that he's committed to winning. And it's not going to be like relying on a historic 17-game winning streak to sneak into the wild card kind of setting. I mean, if you ask every single person in the Cardinals clubhouse, it's division or bust. They're not aiming for the wild card. They know they can win the division. They don't want to do any play-in games. They don't want to do a play-in series. They want to win the division, and that's it. So I think that's what made the stakes at this trade deadline a little bit higher. And I think that's why you're seeing a little bit of that relief from the club and saying, okay, this front office got what we needed. Now we're a complete team. We can only get better if these key players come back later in the season. Let's rock. and they've been pretty unstoppable since.
Well, I'm
Cardinals-
excited to see how it all plays out here in Colorado. Patrick, continue what you were saying, please.
Well, yeah, the Cardinals won't be going back to Toronto unless it's to the World Series, and so that is a ways down the line. But has there
Yes.
been any conversation about those three players? I think it was Arenado, Goldschmidt, and then would that have been the catcher, right?
Austin Romine, yes, he
Romine,
was.
yeah.
He's with Cincinnati now.
Oh, okay.
All
But
so
no,
only two.
hasn't really.
Yeah.
Hasn't really been much of a conversation. Clubhouse seemed to take it pretty well. You have to keep in mind that while the public found out a couple days before the series, obviously, this is something that the clubhouse has known for a long time, that they were going to be playing without their two key players and arguably their best players on the roster. And if there was any animosity, I don't really believe there was. And just talking to people, I think everyone is trying to be respectful of everyone's decisions. But I think if there was, it's long been blown over. And, they took 1 of 2 in Toronto. So if it went 0-2, I think there's probably a little bit more resentment, especially from the fan base. But it seemed to me just blown over. Okay, on to the next. We're not going to have them. Let's have people step up. And if my memory serves me correctly, Albert Pujols had a fantastic 2-game series in Toronto. So maybe he just decided to step up for him.
Love that. So this series looks like the Cardinals have Miles Mikolas, Jose Quintana, and then Dakota Hudson as their probable starters. Are those three guys that they want to be going out to Coors Field? I mean, obviously Adam Wainwright's a Bulldog, so you want him, pitching in the unfriendly confines of Coors Field, as it may be sometimes. But what can we expect from the Cardinals rotation here for the next 3 days?
Well, Miles Mikolas is having a resurgent season. He's a 2022 All-Star, coming back from, basically not playing for the majority of 2020 and 2021 because he was injured so often. And he's been dominant. He's been a workhorse. I mean, him and Adams sit atop the rotation in innings pitched. He has the best ERA on the team. And he's just every fifth day put the Cardinals in a spot to win. And that's really all they could ask for Miles. Jose Quintana, will be his first start on the road as a Cardinal, kind of just hoping. I mean, what he did in his debut, 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 run. It came on a solo shot in the first inning. It's exactly what the Cardinals had in mind. So if he can continue putting together quality start after quality start, they will certainly take it. I'm not sure if Dakota Hudson takes the ball on Thursday. Ollie Marmol was pretty adamant, and Hudson, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery, it often takes 2 full years for pitchers to be fully comfortable after receiving Tommy John, or getting Tommy John, I should say. He's been incredibly slow, his pace this season, and he hasn't been particularly efficient. Cardinals do have that rookie Andre Palante that I mentioned earlier that has slotted in as a spot starter in the rotation and also long relief. I think the Cardinals are making a decision between Dakota and Palante. You might see Dakota on Thursday, but don't be surprised if there's a switch, or they could try to grant him one more time through to kind of establish some sort of efficiency or durability. But I think you're set for Miles and Quintana, or Miles Mikolas and Jose Quintana, maybe Dakota Hudson on Thursday.
Now, that slow pitching pace in Colorado, we call that deliberate.
That makes sense. I don't know what it seems to be from Dakota, but it is slow.
You're like, I don't know if it's deliberate.
I don't think it is deliberate. I really don't think so, because he never used to be this slow. And even before surgery, I think he's just a guy that's really searching for his feel and trying to figure things out as he goes at the major league level. That's really difficult to do.
Well, we also know Miles Mikolas has the best mustache in the Cardinals locker room. That's
he
true.
does have a pretty good stash.
In Denver, I don't know if I'll have the best mustache in Coors Field for the next 3 days. It's debatable. There's been some discussion around there. Not sure who else is on that list there. But.
Well, Robert Stevenson had a great mustache for a while, but now he's a babyface again. So I don't know who's got mustaches still. It was him.
Hey, that's why you got to come out to the ballpark. That's why you got to come out to Coors Field for the next 3 days for Cardinals Rockies celebration of Pujols and Molina and Katie. We really appreciate you coming out and joining us here today. And
Thank you so much.
Next year when you're out, we'll have you in studio. We'll treat you to some Rocky Mountain oysters, the whole 9 yards.
Have you had Rocky Mountain oysters?
I have not. I don't think I actually will. But I never say never, I guess.
I've never had them either. We might need to do that.
I've tried them once. Once is enough. I wanted to know what they were like. I tried it. I was like, okay, I don't need this again, but thank you.
Okay. Yeah. I won't rule it out. I'm not particularly convinced, but I won't rule it out.
Chew on it.
Oh, ew. Okay.
The Rockies next week are in St. Louis. For anyone that's going out to that, are there any interesting, St. Louis cuisine that you specifically people need to get, either because it's popular or because it's weird?
So the big thing here is Emo's Pizza, which is like this thin crust. I'm not a thin crust girl, but whatever, I can get over it. But they put Provel cheese on their pizza, and everyone in St. Louis thinks it's like amazing. Every time I'm like out with friends and we finish the night, they're like, let's get Emo's. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why? Because it's really not that great. And I'm about to get my St. Louis card taken away. Sorry. But I will make up for it and say they're toasted ravioli, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a ravioli deep fried. They're like a glorified pizza roll, but really good. That is good.
Oh my
That
God.
is worth it.
I didn't need that when I was out there.
No,
that
you
sounds
have to
so
come back.
good.
Come back, Suzie. Come back and I'll take you. They're everywhere. I love them. So my word of advice, if you travel to St. Louis, skip Emo's, get some toasted wrap, and get some Ted Drews. It's like some frozen custard. It's really good. And they have all these different flavors. That's where it's at.
Love it. Thank you
You
for
might
the
have saved
intel.
yourself. You might have saved your St. Louis card there at the end.
No, they're still gonna find me.
They
They're
will
gonna
find
me.
you.
Well, Katie, they can find you over on Twitter at Katie J. Wu, and of course on The Athletic, where you're covering the Cardinals better than anyone in the game right now. So we appreciate
Thanks,
you so much for
guys.
coming on.
I appreciate it. Wish I was seeing you in Denver, but hey, we'll make up for it. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Man, she's fantastic. Had all of the intel, had all of the insight, much like the folks over at Green Mountain Dental Group.
There we go.
Because right now, when you schedule
There
a
we go.
cleaning, X-ray, and exam with them, you're going to receive a free Sonicare toothbrush, the same one that I use each and every day. Not each and every morning, because they're going to tell you, hey, in the morning and at night, all the food you ate during the day, boom, get that going. Green Mountain Dental Group, I've got so many wonderful tips there for you. They've taken great care of our members. Even some of us that are on-air talent looked after us in a really good way. Best part, too, Green Mountain Dental Group, it's located just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. Talking about starting your day, it's what I did in San Diego, thankfully, due to their travel packs that they've got. That's Athletic Greens. Love my AG. I get one scoop, and there's 75 high-quality vitamins, whole food, sourced superfoods, probiotics, minerals, adaptogens. Helps me start my day the right way. Even before that first cup of coffee, it kind of gets me going a little bit bright, a little bit of clarity early on, and that's each and every day. It's a good micro habit that I've built in to remind myself, hey, I want to have a good day. I want to start it off right. I want to eat well, exercise well, and do good things for myself mentally. And Athletic Greens does all of that with that one scoop. Go to athleticgreens.com/ROC, the first 3 letters of Rockies. They're going to hook you up with a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 of those free travel packs with your first purchase. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional assurance. athleticgreens.com/ROC.
Everyone knows Patrick is the biggest Athletic Greens guy, but I'm also a pretty big Athletic Greens guy.
I need a new supply. I'm running out. Like my summer supply is getting there. Yes. I got to reach out to those folks there to get me going, especially if I want to do a marathon or something in the fall. Like
Are you trying to do a marathon in the fall?
I'm long overdue. I'm long overdue for a race, and I think I just need to. That's what they say. The best way to kind of go about something like that, you just schedule it, sign up for it, and then you're more likely to hold yourself accountable than like, I'll train for 8-9 weeks, and then I'll just like sign up, a couple days before. Like that's not a great plan for success. But
well, you get a better deal too. Usually, if you sign up way in advance,
that's
you
true.
get the discount.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Keep us posted on your running. I will not be doing any running anytime soon, unfortunately. But,
what were your, as Katie brought up, you mentioned it too. What were your thoughts on, because this has been somewhat of a discussion on social media, the fact that the Rockies are kind of, really advertising the fact that the Cardinals are coming to town. Maybe that's not fair exactly. They're advertising that they're going to be celebrating 2 all-time players, which is great. But we also understand the certain connotations in a town like Denver, in which this is not everyone's second home, but it's not their first home. And you've got all these invading fans coming in. You didn't make certain moves at the trade deadline. You're floundering a little bit, 15 games under 500 going into the series. And now you're almost whispering to other fan bases, hey, why don't you come on out? What was your take on that when you saw that bit of advertisement?
You know what? The big thing for me was the connotation, because there are so many fans who are not exactly Rockies fans who came from somewhere else, or fans who grew up in Colorado before the Rockies existed. And a lot of those guys are Cardinals fans. So it felt, while I'm so happy that they're being celebrated, it did feel like this is very much for the Cardinals fans who live in Colorado, especially the graphic is red. I'm like, come on now. Let's turn it down just a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm so excited that they're being honored because they absolutely deserve to be celebrated at every ballpark they're going to. But if we're doing it the biggest, I feel like it feels weird.
Yeah, a little bit. Again, it's just kind of how it was put forth. The concept is rather the idea of celebrating those guys. You should have that moment to say thank you for all you've done for the game of baseball. We assume this is the end of your run here, as Katie said. A lot of people don't want that to happen. It does seem like that will be the case, nevertheless. So I'm just curious what they might possibly give those two guys. I can't like wrap my head around anything that's definitively Colorado. There's a lot of things that are Colorado that you think of with Denver, but I guess nothing huge and grand. Like I feel like I'm not sure what player retired, but in San Diego, gave him like a surfboard. You go, oh, okay, hey, cool, that's cute. You know, like
maybe they get snowboards.
Things. There you go. That could work.
I don't know.
That actually, I think you might have hit on something because I know Herman Marquez got himself a snowboard from the All-Star game last year. I think that was something that all the players ended up getting. So you could tie into that thing and also just those little giveaways of a free gift package to Aspen at this place and all kinds of Breckenridge brew at that a year's supply, all of that good stuff.
They're gonna get Chris Bryant bobbleheads.
That's nice.
It would be nice.
And do we know if they're going to be in one piece, right? They're going to be in good condition. They're not going to be a little damaged.
No, they're going to be in multiple pieces.
Shots fired. That would be at the Suzie Hunter who said that.
Yeah. Come at me. No one's going to come at me. Everyone knows I'm right.
So we had a funny incident last week in San Diego that I might have mentioned briefly yesterday on the show.
Well, I wasn't at the show yesterday, so you're going to have to fill me in.
A question was asked, Bud. It's like, hey, such and such, what's going on with this thing with Chad? And a couple people in the dugout were like kind of listening to Buddy and his answer. It was fascinating what he had to say about Chad. And then by the time he got to the end, I felt pretty confident. He was talking about Chad Cool, and he was. But there are two Chads, with Chad Smith, who did just get off and down. But there could be that confusion with two Chads and then two Ellies. Right?
Yeah.
We got Elias Diaz, who goes by Ellie, and then Elihuris Montero. And now the Rockies have added Denilson Lament, and I don't know if he goes, by Nelly, like Denilson.
Yeah, do we know at all? Because then we would have two Nellies, because sometimes Danielle Allentuck will go by Nelly.
Oh, that's true. Danielle from the Gazelle. That's right. So we'd have two Ellies, two Nellies, and two Chads.
Okay, so I swear... this makes a lot of sense because I swear someone was talking about Chad Smith being injured on Twitter and then I never saw the tweet again. So I'm wondering if like the Chads really are getting mixed up.
Yeah, it could be. Cool's the one that's on the IL. Smith is on the one that's in ABQ. If we're keeping it to our things there. And a Rocky won an award and
let's talk about this.
Well, I do want to two Rockies won an award, but one's in the minor leagues. That being Winton Bernard. We'll have to touch on that tomorrow. And we'll have to. We're running out of time because we got a game that we've got to play here. So we'll have to talk tomorrow about this honor. It definitely is an honor, and we'll have to catch up with him tomorrow at the ballpark to hear more about it. Connor Joe won a little something, but I'm hoping to win something to try to figure out what's the gossip, what's going on right now.
Oh, are you ready to hear some out of context news and then decide on whether or not it's true or if it's a little true or if it's not true at all? It is time for the gossip, everyone's favorite game show where I try to stop Patrick. It's my favorite thing to do. Are you ready?
I am, and I'm ready for the chat to help me out because it's been blowing up a lot today, and I appreciate that. Some folks from St. Louis have even come in, so I appreciate that. Jeff, Todd, you guys, I might need your help to try to figure these out as Suzie tries to stump me.
All right. So the first rumor that I heard was that Tony La Russa, manager of the Chicago White Sox, slept through an entire White Sox game. Patrick, is that true?
Yes. I saw it. It happened in Colorado. That wasn't reported on. But it may have happened in another game as well. Oh, that poor guy. We'll have to talk with our friends over at CHGO White Sox and get the rundown. Like, where did this season go wrong? It's still not over yet, but the White Sox are not that powerhouse that everyone kind of anticipated them to be. And I think a lot of that had to do with their manager, Tony La Russa, and the fact that he might have fallen asleep in the dugout for a whole game. I'm going to say it's true. Did that
You know
happen?
what? Not quite. He very much did doze off, and it's on camera. We do have a video of it. Look at him go. The classic doze off, barely keeping his eyes open. This is the first
Heavy,
inning of a game recently.
heavy
So
eyelids.
he's not asleep at the wheel.
Wait, that was the first inning?
The first inning.
No, I did
Mhm.
not know that.
Yeah.
Although, hold on, if we take like a half a step back, not
Okay.
that I'm going to co-sign falling asleep. when
Well,
you're the
who
manager
else
of the
could
team.
fall asleep at their job and like be okay? Like if I was falling asleep on the
Pilot,
podcast, I'd be fired.
cab drivers, just a couple examples of people who could fall asleep. No, but when would be the most appropriate time to fall asleep? In a weird way, first inning would be it, right? Late in the game, you're mixing and matching, unless it's like a blowout. I could see maybe first inning is a good time to kind of save some energy because you're going to need to make some big moves, make a couple swaps in the middle. If you got a pitching matchup that's going to help you win, that does make a little bit more sense for it to have happened in the first inning, but it
None
does
of it
make
makes.
zero sense for it to have happened at all.
Yes, exactly. I think that is the. I'm concerned. I'm worried about our friends at CHGO White Sox, and we need to get their input on this for sure. All right, I got some more gossip. Let's look at it. Citi Field cracked the news wide open. Max Fried is opening a breakfast place.
I know nothing about this.
You know nothing. There's no context whatsoever.
I know that Yuli Gurriel set up a little cocktail bar when Houston was blowing out the Red Sox. I think. Oh no, it was Lourdes Gurriel. They got the same haircut.
Mm-hmm.
We did talk about that, but breakfast. Tell me more about this. I'm going to say yeah. Why not? Why not?
No, it's not true at all. But Citi Field, they have themselves a great scoreboard guy for sure. But I liked this little. First of all, it's got everything. It's got puns. It's got baseball puns. So when Max Fried was up, Oda Rizzi sounds like over easy. Fried is another way you can enjoy your eggs. It's an excellent fact right there. I got a kick out of that because you know how we feel about puns.
Puns are excellent, and it always cracks me up. Well, look, there's a Shake Shack in Citi Field, so I figured maybe Max Fried opens up a little something, but it's not going to happen. At least not yet. I mean, this could be planting of the seed, and maybe it ends up happening next year. We'll keep you posted.
Maybe. All right, I've got some more gossip for you. Gabe Kapler won't eat birthday cake. Is this true, Patrick?
100%. I mean, the dude's got like negative 1% body fat. So that, and you're like, how do you get to be negative 1%? It's gums. Do you know how much fat is in your gums? He's figured out a way to have very muscular and bony gums. So that's how he gets to negative 1%. Gabriel Kapler, 100% birthday
Gabriel!
cake.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of true. His birthday was on July 31st, and the past 2 years in a row, the people around him have gotten him a steak birthday cake. First of all, this cake looks insane. It's a steak. It's got like a baked potato looking thing on the side. It's all cake though. But he wouldn't eat it. So 2 years in a row, he's gotten this elaborate cake and he won't eat it. And he says that it's because he doesn't want to, basically he doesn't want to feel like he has to. Like he can eat cake, he could eat cake if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to hold himself, relying on a special occasion. Like just because it's a special occasion doesn't mean he has to eat it. He honestly sounds like a huge pain in the butt.
That brings up a little bit. Some people definitely can be,
like just eat the cake.
A higher
Have
profile.
a bite.
Yeah, high maintenance people sometimes. And I've dipped my toe in that water. But he does bring up a great point about consent when it comes to birthday cakes. Just because you get someone a cake or a muffin, you need to get their consent that they are going to have a piece of that. So Gabe Kapler's a maniac, but I kind of like that. I wish I was more of a maniac like him. I've dipped my toe in that maniac water.
You're kind of getting there. I feel like you are inching closer and closer to Gabe Kapler maniac territory.
I'll enjoy a birthday cake steak.
They should just get him a steak instead of getting him a cake that looks like a steak.
There you go. Yeah,
He's
I
do
mean,
that.
yeah, that does remind me of all those TikTok videos of like, hey, is that a roll of toilet paper? And then a knife cuts into it. And you're like, no, it's actually cake. They should do that with him and prank him with like the lineup card. And he reaches onto his desk and his whole desk is made of cake. And he falls in on top of his desk because it's all just made of cake. It's a very huge and elaborate office style prank. But I
Oh
think that's
my
what they need to do next year to Gabe
Next
Kapler.
year, replace his whole desk with cake. He will hate it. It will be hilarious for everyone else. It'll be the gift that keeps on giving.
Is it possible? And a desk is large and it's thick. It's rectangular. So you're like,
Mhm.
okay, that works with cake wise. But could they possibly get a Peloton in cake form? Because he goes to throw his leg over and then again collapses on top of the cake that he thought was a Peloton so he can get his miles in while he's on the road in Cincinnati or wherever it is. And he's got cake all over him. That's good stuff.
Also, shout out to Todd in the chat. He says he only eats cake on his birthday, but no one else's birthday. Good
Respect.
sport. A good sport. Respect the game. You can make anything into a cake, so I'm confident that someone could make a Peloton cake for the right price point. And I think the people around him could afford it for sure. I've got some more gossip. Do you want some more news?
Indeed.
All right. Noah Syndergaard was nearly struck by lightning in his Phillies debut. Is
Okay.
that true? Is
When I
that
think
true? Did that happen,
When I
Patrick?
think of the Phillies and I think of Noah Syndergaard, Philadelphia, obviously, he's been on the East Coast, but I don't know if if you have a lot of access in the Anaheim area to kites. So I imagine he's in Philadelphia. He's like, this is my thing. I got to get it
Oh
started.
my
He gets a kite.
gosh.
He puts a key on the bottom of it, and he got struck by lightning, a la Ben Franklin. But maybe someone got in his ear and said, "Oh, hey, this is what you got to do. This is the initiation."
This
So
is
I
what
could see
everyone
that
does
happen.
in Philly.
I could see that happening. Yeah. I thought I read something about Didi Gregorius a couple years ago. So I'm going to say, yeah, that did happen.
You know what? He was not almost struck by lightning. He did not do the kite key Ben Franklin thing. But in his first start with the Phillies, take a look at this if you're watching us on YouTube. Huge lightning strike. So very appropriate because everyone calls him Thor. Lightning came down during his first start very aggressively. That game went into a rain delay too. So there you go.
That looks like it
That's
hit Chicky and Pete's on
It
Broad Street.
actually
Like,
kind of
I'm a
does.
little
Yeah.
worried.
No, that's
Do we
a
know?
beefy lightning strike.
That's pretty
It's
wild.
beefy.
Are we sure
Beefy.
that was Citizens Bank Park? I mean, it could have been Coors Field.
It looks like Coors Field, according to some newspapers.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and
Who's
check that
to
out.
know? I got one more piece of gossip for you. The Pittsburgh Pirates are growing banana peppers in their bullpen. Patrick, is that true? Banana peppers?
That's not even shocking. Yeah, why not? Like, that's a great idea. I think teams should do that in their batter's eye. They've got the ivy growing. You can get some tomatoes, a little sweet tomato, a little corn. We know the sweet corn in Colorado is fantastic.
Hmm.
Are peppers a huge thing in Pittsburgh? I'm going to say, yeah, they are.
This is 100% true, Patrick. So, an observant fan noticed a gardening box full of peppers. I think they're growing cucumbers, maybe some squashes, but they have like a
God.
legit garden. They're actually farming in there. You know, there's a lot of downtime in the bullpen. So, why not?
That is excellent.
Yeah. So,
I love that.
100% true.
I feel like that is an item you want to put in the visitors bullpen. Now, yes, you need
Why?
to tend to it, but the opposing bullpen's like, this is weird. This is crazy. Hey, are these spicy? Next thing you know, Kenley Jansen, gives up a 3-run home run, and you just beat Atlanta at PNC Park because somebody needed to get him milk because he ended up sampling some of the fruits and veg.
Oh my God. Well, banana peppers aren't spicy. Banana peppers aren't spicy.
Well, that's why you swap them out.
You're
You're
saying we should put. Oh, not Kenley Jansen. He's got a heart condition. Come on, Patrick, have a heart. You have a heart.
I
gonna
think
kill this
are
poor
peppers
man.
good for your heart? Peppers could be good for your heart. No.
Well, I think if you eat something spicy and you weren't expecting it, I think that might. I don't know.
Well,
That
he
doesn't
is
sound like a
expecting
good
it.
situation.
He just doesn't know how hot exactly.
Oh my gosh.
David
All right.
Robertson? How about David Robertson when they have the Pennsylvania Derby there between the Pirates and Phillies? Now Phillies' new closer, David Robertson? Maybe. Maybe he's
Maybe.
the guy that you get. I like this.
Maybe.
I think this
Yeah,
is
you know what?
good.
It's super fun. I love when teams do like fun, goofy things, and this is one of them. And now I really want banana peppers. So on my last day in Philly here, I might get a hoagie with some banana peppers. How
Love
about that?
that. We're going to have a lot of fun on Tuesday at 11:45 going live to really break down this St. Louis Cardinals Colorado Rockies series, celebrate some more Rockies players, have some fun, do some great stuff. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at.
And I am at the Suzie Hunter on all platforms.
Thanks to Katie Wu, who has given us a lot of momentum, but truly, you know what they say about momentum, it's only as good as your next show. So we'll talk to you tomorrow.